Hi, I'm Mark Zyla, Principal Horn at the Quad City Symphony Orchestra, and we're here today with Peter Mumford. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Peter.
Well, obviously, I'm an Englishman. I'm primarily, I guess, known really as a lighting designer, although I actually trained as a stage designer. But that's probably where my work is most known. It's certainly known in America as such. Worked a lot in opera. I have a lot of work that's live with the Met, for example, at the moment. And I was in New York last year with a big musical called King Kong and a play called Ferryman. So I get to America quite often.
Sounds like a very varied career. This is a unique production of Die Walküre. What can the audience expect to see on stage?
Well, Opera North in England came to me and asked me to come through with a concept for presenting the Ring Cycle, which is comprised of four operas. Das Rheingold, Die Walküre, Siegfried, and Gotterdammerung. So it's a massive project. They asked me to come up with a concept that would work in terms of a concert presentation where we knew that we were going to have the orchestra on stage, but we wanted to make something which was also a huge theatrical event as well. So I eventually came through with an idea to use, first of all, video throughout. So I designed a triptych of screens, which you will see a version of that in Iowa when that happens, and to create material that would accompany all four operas at that time and support them visually, while at the same time seeing the orchestra, which is something which is quite different for the Ring Cycle, and seeing the performers working. I mean, they worked in front of the orchestra almost like a kind of rock band. I mean, they were amazing, of course.
Wow.
So the idea was to present it in that kind of a way. But I've worked on previous Wagner productions and also, in fact, a Ring Cycle some years before that as a lighting designer. And I felt very strongly that I wanted to actually tell the story. It's a huge narrative that tracks through generations of gods and men and giants and dwarfs and all kinds of areas of mystique.
Yeah.
But has a real kind of contemporary relevance as well. So although there have been lots of productions of the Ring Cycle which have tried to explore inner meanings, sometimes imposed inner meanings on them, I felt that the main job was to actually try and tell the story, which is difficult enough.
Right.
And in this form of presentation, it becomes possible. So we developed a style of performance which is almost like a kind of reaction shot to camera, if you like. So everybody, performing wise, performs out to the audience, even when they're talking to somebody next to them.
Wow.
It's a more complicated style than it seems, but it proved to be incredibly effective. And
Excellent.
because a lot of the material in the Ring Cycle is telling stories, is telling, there's an awful lot of storytelling, almost more than there is actual action. I mean, we occasionally kill a dragon or two, but generally speaking, there aren't huge battles. It's telling people about things. So I
Right.
tried to emphasize all of that and produce something whereby people will actually get the story and enjoy it, but also see incredibly focused performances from the individuals.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing all this come to life. What was your first experience with the operas of Richard Wagner, and how has your relationship with his music changed over your career?
I think that the first Ring Cycle that I worked on was actually directed by a director called Tim Albury, who's wonderful, an old friend, and we've worked together a lot for Scottish opera. But working on it as a lighting designer, in a sense, you work illustrating somebody else's concept. In a sense, a wonderful
Hmm.
designer called Hildegard Beckler was designing it. So you're working like that. When you actually take on the material as a director, I think everything changes and your intimacy with the material becomes much, much closer. You suddenly understand things from an inward sense rather than actually an illustrative sense. If I'm lighting something, then I'm working. It's theatre is a collaborative business.
Hmm.
You work alongside lots of other people. When you actually come to direct it, then that becomes very different. You then investigate the material in a very different way. So I think that the experience has been when people have watched this ring cycle, that they actually have come out of it saying, this is almost the clearest and the first time that we've really understood it and got it. Because my belief is that if you're going to work with something which is like a parable or an allegory, you allow the parable to tell its own story and have its own meaning. And when you do that
Hmm.
and you get that clarity, then the inner meanings come to the surface for the people who are watching it. And that's what I would hope would happen. I mean, with Die Walküre was actually the first part of the Ring cycle that Wagner wrote. He went back after writing Siegfried and Götterdämmerung, went back and wrote Rheingold as a kind of prequel, if you like. It was like a kind of backstory because he thought it needed it.
Hmm.
But originally, the very beginning is what everybody will see in Iowa, which is Act One of Die
Hmm.
Walküre. And to me, it's the most complete of all of the sections of the Ring cycle. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's just three people.
Oh,
And it's a wonderful little story. And that's what kicks off actually the entire repercussions of the Ring.
wow. Well, I know that we are all looking forward to seeing this on stage, and I thank you very much for your time today. It was wonderful to meet you.
Well, that's a pleasure, and I'm very sorry not to be there, but I hope that everybody. Joe will do a great job. Joe Austin, who is my associate on the entire cycle, and I hope that everybody's going to really enjoy it. It's a very special
Excellent.
thing for me.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.